Friends of the media, you can take a photo first. Ready? Fine. Please take a seat. Welcome to the press conference. We have the Permanent Secretary for Environment and Ecology, together with other government department representatives hosting this press conference. First, the Permanent Secretary will speak, and then the floor will open to questions. Permanent Secretary, please. First of all, I would like to thank the media for attending this press conference. In response to Japan's discharge plan of wastewater, the Environment and Ecology Bureau, the Food and Environmental Hygiene Department, Center for Food Safety, the Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department, the Hong Kong Observatory, and the Department of Health has set up a interdepartmental working group to assess the impact of the plan on food safety and come up with responding measures. So today we are here as members of the working group to explain to you the concrete measures we're taking. Yesterday, the Japanese government announced that starting from the 24th of August, they're going to start the nuclear wastewater discharge plan. The SL government expressed strong opposition to the plan. We want to ensure the safety and health of the public, and that is our primary consideration. So we have the precautionary principle that we follow, and the Director of Food and Environmental Hygiene has issued the food safety order. It's been gazetted. And they're starting from the 24th of August, that is the day when the Japanese government starts the discharge plan, that we will ban aquatic and other food products from Tokyo, Fukushima, Chiba, Tochigi, Ibaraki, Kunma, Miyagi, Niigata, Nagano, and Saitama. So altogether 10 metropolis and prefectures. And that covers all live, frozen, refrigerated, dried, or otherwise preserved aquatic products, seafood, and unprocessed or processed seaweed. And apart from food coming from the 10, banning the food products from these 10 metropolis or prefectures, we are also going to monitor very closely food safety for food products coming from other parts of Japan. And in fact, we have already expanded the scope of monitoring, of surveillance of products. We are inspecting all aquatic products from Japan, and we've also stepped up surveillance on other food products from Japan. We have also stepped up our monitoring on other aspects. This is to make sure that we could ensure food safety on all fronts. And then the Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department is also monitoring the radiological level of food. For example, for local catch and fish from local maricultural zones are all subject to such radiological testing. And also we will also step up monitoring of the radiological level in seawater in our waters. Now, the Director of Food and Environmental Hygiene will explain to you the details of the food safety order, and then the Center for Food Safety explain to you our food surveillance program, the radio, and then the Hong Kong Observatory will also give you information about their work. Thank you. Now, I have exercised the powers conferred on me by the Food Safety Ordinance to issue a food safety order. It's been gazetted. So according to the order, all live, frozen, refrigerated, dried, or otherwise preserved aquatic products, seafood, and unprocessed or processed seaweed originating from the 10 Japanese metropolis prefectures of Tokyo, Fukushima, Ibaraki, Miyagi, Shiba, Gunma, Tochigi, Niigata, Nagano, and Saitama are prohibited from being imported into Hong Kong and supplied within Hong Kong. It comes into effect from midnight of the 24th of August. As for other food products that are not banned from Hong Kong, such as sea salt or unprocessed or processed seaweed, the Center for Food Safety will conduct comprehensive radiation testing. We will verify that the products do not exceed the radiation level before they are released for market supply. Also, Hong Kong will maintain the existing import control measures for certain food products from Japan. That is, all vegetables and fruits, milk beverages, and dried milk originating from Fukushima are prohibited from being imported into Hong Kong. And then foods originating from the 4 prefectures near Fukushima, that is Ibaraki, Tochigi, Chiba, and Gunma, must be accompanied by a radiation certificate and an exporter certificate issued by the Japanese authority before they can be imported into Hong Kong. As for all frozen or refrigerated game, meat, poultry, and poultry eggs originating from the above 5 prefectures, a radiation certificate issued by the Japanese authority must be attached, attesting that the radiation level of the food concerned does not exceed the Codex guideline levels. Otherwise, such importation into Hong Kong is prohibited. I'd like to remind you that food safety is about the health of the public. So the government will stringently execute the order. We want to make sure that all food sold and supplied in Hong Kong is fit for and safe for consumption. Now, anyone who violates the order will have committed a criminal offense, and there could be a level 6 fine or imprisonment of 12 months. Now, I would like to brief you on the work of the Center for Safe Safety. Now, ensuring food safety is a primary task of the Center for Food Safety, CFS. And we have already set up testing and surveillance of food products from Japan since mid-April 2023. And the testing scope of food imported from Japan has been comprehensively enhanced starting from the 12th of June. All aquatic products imported from Japan and related processed foods are tested every day to ensure food safety and maintain public confidence. From mid-June to now, we have tested about 10,357 food samples. More than half of them are aquatic products. But I must stress that we will now test all aquatic products 100%. Apart from stepping up testing of food imported from Japan, we also keep in close contact with the local trades. We have been keeping in close contact with the local Japanese food import industry and catering industry. We keep them informed of the latest control measures and the latest situation so the trade could be well prepared. This morning, we have held 2 online briefing sessions for the trades. About 700 people attended the sessions. So through the online briefing sessions, we explain to the sector the latest arrangement. We'll be arranging a third briefing session because we want to keep in communication with the sector. And also, we would like to provide the latest information to the public. We want to make sure the public will have access to the latest safety information on food imported from Japan. So the CFS will publish the radiation test results of samples of food imported from Japan on our webpage every working day. The relevant information will also be included in a press release issued by the Bureau of Environment and Ecology every working day.
Next, I'll invite Mr. Patrick Lai, Assistant Director from the Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department, to tell us more. The AFCD has been in communication with local fishery bodies. We understand that local fishermen are worried that the discharge of nuclear wastewater will affect public confidence on local fishery products. They hope that the government can step up testing on imported aquatic products and release relevant information. Starting from tomorrow, the AFCD, that is the first day of the discharge plan, the 24th of August 2023, step up radiation monitoring. We will conduct tests on local catches sold through fish marketing organization, as well as get samples from fish culture zones for testing. The frequency of testing will increase from once per month to once per day. We will release the test results on our website every day. We'll also step up radiation monitoring in local waters, and this monitoring will be done by the Hong Kong Observatory. If the Hong Kong Observatory detects any abnormal results, they will notify AFCD. The Hong Kong Observatory has all along been monitoring the radiation levels in Hong Kong waters. Every quarter, we get samples from local seawater to conduct testing to see the amount of tritium and artificial gamma-emitting radionuclides in the seawater samples. Starting from last month, we have already stepped up monitoring of the radiation levels in Hong Kong waters. And we will increase the frequency to about once per month. We will adjust the frequency if necessary. The results of the test will be released on our website. It's now Q&A session. Please let us know the media organization you represent and your name before you ask your question. Yes, the gentleman at the front. In the last row, the gentleman there, please. Good afternoon, I'm from the Hong Kong Economic Times. I'd like to ask about the arrangement starting from tomorrow. From what time will you start banning the imports of aquatic products from the 10 prefectures? In actual practice, can you tell us more about the details? Second question. We understand that there hasn't been any aquatic products from Japan that fall below the safety standards. Do you think that the radiation level detected from aquatic products imported from Japan will increase significantly? Do you foresee any changes in the radiation level of the imported food? Thank you. Well, the reporter asked about the food safety order, which will be enforced tomorrow. It will start to take effect at midnight tomorrow. In terms of the actual practice, I'll ask our director to tell you more. At airport and also seaports, we've been conducting tests on the imported food products. We will continue to do this starting from tomorrow. Actually, since mid-June, we have been conducting comprehensive radiological tests on aquatic products imported from Japan. I will invite controller of the Center for Food Safety to tell you more about the actual practice. Thank you for the question. The Japanese government announced that the discharge plan will begin tomorrow. The Center for Food Safety attaches importance to this. We are concerned about this because this is an issue that we care about. Yesterday, after the Japanese government made the relevant announcement, we have already talked to the trade, and we held the briefing sessions for the trade to explain to them about the situation. Just like the director said, all along, the food surveillance program has been effective. When a new order takes effect, we want to do more explanation work to the trade to dispel any misconception. Japanese food products are imported into Hong Kong through air and land. When the food products arrive, for each batch of aquatic products, we look at the import documents and we extract samples for radiological testing. After or before the test results are released, the products are not allowed to be sold on the market. This is an effective way to control the imported food safety and to protect the safety of public health. And this also helps to boost public confidence on food safety in Hong Kong. This program has been effective since 2011, and the trade is aware of this as well. I'd like to add one point. Before tomorrow midnight, for any food that has already been sent onto the plane or onto the ship, even though they are banned under the food safety order, as long as they are shipped before midnight, they are not bound by the order. Will the Center for Food Safety give any advice to members of the public who are going to travel to the 10 prefectures concerned? Any advice to the public, please? Dr. Wong. Hong Kong people like to travel to Japan. After the discharge plan kicks in, there will be high risks to the aquatic products imported from Japan, and that's why we issued the food safety order. Travelers who go to Japan should also be aware of the food risks. When members of the public consume aquatic products from the 10 prefectures, they should be careful. And the Center for Food Safety has been stringent on being a gatekeeper in this area. The gentleman over there. I'm from RTHK. I'd like to ask a follow-up question. Well, Hong Kong people like traveling to Japan, like Tokyo. Well, you mentioned about risks of aquatic products in Japan. What are the risks? Well, we like eating sashimi don and sushi. Should we avoid consuming this kind of food in Japan? Or should we assume that this kind of food sold in Japan is safe for consumption? What are the risks if we consume this kind of food? Also, I'd like to ask about the food safety order. Yesterday, the Bureau mentioned that it depends on the actual circumstances to decide when to lift the ban. Well, Japanese government will start discharging nuclear wastewater soon. Will the government refer to the relevant figures when you decide when to lift the ban? Thank you.
I'll invite Dr. Wong to tell you more about the risks of traveling to Japan. Well, there are many factors we have to look at. First, the fish we eat, how much we eat, and what is the radiation level of the fish. Now, in Hong Kong, when we do testing, we adopt the Codex standards. For instance, cesium for 1 kilogram is 1,000 microgram. So if a food product fails to test, that means it doesn't meet the Codex standard. And fish, of course, is some special food. And in sashimi in particular, we've always been advising the public not to consume too much of it because there are other risks as well. Apart from and of course, it depends on how much you consume. Second row. Sorry, if I could answer your question. For the food safety order, it's issued today and it only takes effect tomorrow. As to when we may remove the order, I think it's too early to consider that. Now, we will be monitoring the situation very closely. And there are a basket of factors that we consider. For example, the discharge system claimed by the Japan, whether it's working normally, and then we'll look at the radiation level of the seawater and aquatic products. And some ask if it's enough just to rely on data provided by Japan. Some experts have said, though, that if we want those data to be convincing to other economies, the Japanese government may consider a third-party participation and certification of their data. So we're keeping close communication with the Japanese authorities. As for Hong Kong, as explained just now, we will continue to do radiological testing on Japanese products and we'll keep our own data. So we have to observe the situation for some time before we could make other decisions. But if I may say, though, after we impose a prohibition, and then we'll observe the situation for some time, and after that, we may make adjustments. There have been such cases in the past. For example, in 2011, the Fukushima nuclear incident, we issued a food safety order at the time, and several years later, in 2018, we did allow limited relaxation of the order. So we will have regard to the actual situation. On the second row, the lady in blue, I'm from Phoenix TV. Now, we understand that what about the whole process of the CFAS? Can you explain? How many steps do you have to take to finish testing an aquatic product, and how long does it take to do the test? Because some in the industry said that it may take a long time for the aquatic products to be tested. The products will only arrive at the shops at 6 or 7 p.m. and it may affect their business. Thank you for your questions. So you asked how long it takes to do surveillance on aquatic products, right? Now, for our testing procedure, it's more or less the same as before. Since 2011 to now, we've been adopting a similar process. So the testing duration and the customs clearance, the duration actually is not much different than, say, a few months ago. But of course, it depends on what we're testing. For certain tests, we may need to go into further details. And then, now for normal testing, it takes about an hour. But in some cases, there is a need to take further samples, to go through the radiation contamination system, then it will take another hour or so. As for customs clearance, we have to inspect the import documents as well. So in a total, it takes about 3 to 4 hours. But then, of course, when it comes to customs clearance, it depends on the products and the documentation provided. So the time may vary from case to case. But then we have procured more testing equipment. So we could then shorten the time required for doing the test. So the situation is more or less the same as before. The one in a checkered shirt, please. I'm from Ming Power. 3 questions. This morning, the secretary said that if we travel to Japan and then bring back some food products from Japan, that is not against law because the ban is only on commercial products. But what if we ask friends or family members to buy products for us, or there are people who specialize in buying products for people? Would that be against law? And what is the definition of aquatic products? And what about the soup base of instant noodles or that's cooked with some dried fish or whatever? Would that be caught by the definition of aquatic product? And then there are other products that don't list the origin in their packaging. Maybe they just use the ingredients, but they actually packaged in Hong Kong. Then would they be covered by your ban? And what if the public wants to find more information? How is there a mechanism to give them assistance? 3 questions. The first one, I'll ask the director to tell you about the food safety order and what is regulated under the order. Here, we're talking about importation and supply. So the director will give you more details. And then on the definition of aquatic products and labeling of products, I'll ask Dr. Wong to take that question. Thank you. Now, in the order, it states that importation and supply of food in Hong Kong is prohibited. And then we go by the food safety ordinance that is kept 612, section 2, that's the interpretation. Supply means selling or offering to sell food products, or storing food for the purpose of selling or displaying of food products, or there's consideration in taking the food or using the food as gift in the process of marketing. So if it doesn't fall under those cases, that means, say you go to Japan and then you bring back some food ingredients for your own use, or you give it to family members or friends for free, then it's not covered by this food safety order. But of course, the SL government, after careful consideration, has confirmed that there are certain risks for aquatic products coming from the 10 metropolis or prefectures. So we wouldn't advise the public to buy products from the 10 metropolis or prefectures for their own use or for giving away to friends and family members. So if it's commercial operation, then how do you consider that? Well, that's then commercial action is covered by the order. If anyone violates the order, that they are subject to a level 6 fine or imprisonment of 12 months. For people who bring food back for selling, that's also a form of importation. So we will certainly monitor that. That is food brought in by buying agents. That's covered as well. Now, aquatic products, well, shellfish, of course, they are aquatic products, but the definition could be complicated. Now, the food safety order covers aquatic products. It also covers sea salt and seaweed. So if I may just remind the public, so apart from aquatic products, the sea salt and seaweed are also banned. And then what about labeling without stating the origin of the food? For example, if aquatic products are imported into Hong Kong from Japan and then they're packaged locally, then what can we do about the labeling? So you're saying that these are food products imported from Japan but packaged in Hong Kong. Now, if the food products are, say, fish or shrimps coming from the 10 metropolis or prefectures, they're not allowed. Even if they are brought into Hong Kong for processing further in Hong Kong, it's not allowed, because there are several, limbs to the definition. For all aquatic products originating from the 10 metropolis or prefectures from Japan, they are not allowed into Hong Kong.
Say for a pack of seafood, if on the packaging it doesn't set out all the origins or places of origins? What will you do? And also, how about the other types of prepackaged food that I mentioned, like flavor packages? For sauces like oyster sauce or soy sauce, they do not fall under the definition of aquatic products. However, at the import level, the Center for Food Safety will also conduct testing on these products. The lady on the last row.
From RTHK. Can you recap in English what will be the threshold or benchmark for the government to remove or expand the import ban on Japanese food? And also, what would you do to prevent people from smuggling or Japanese seafood into Hong Kong? Because Zhechuan said no restrictions on people to bring small amounts of seafood to Hong Kong. Thank you.
On when government will consider varying the food safety order, amending the safety order, I think it's now too early to say because we just DFEH just today issued the food safety order, which would start to take effect tomorrow. But in the process, we'll keep under review a basket of factors, including how the operation of the nuclear contaminated water treatment system is going, and any statistics or data from the Japanese side on seawater near Fukushima, the nuclear power station, and the radiation level of any food samples and aquatic product samples collected nearby. And on the part of Hong Kong, because the Center for Food Safety is collecting aquatic product samples every day, doing testing. So we'll have our own database. So we'll make reference to the data over time and observe after a certain period of time. We do have experience in varying food safety orders before. After the Fukushima nuclear incident in 2011, there was then a food safety order, which was amended in 2018. So we do have experience in sort of in varying the order itself. So we make reference to our experience and the whole basket of factors that I mentioned in considering whether there is a case to do so. But I don't think that would happen too soon, as I said. And there are other questions about the testing.
Smuggling.
Sorry, about smuggling. So I'll invite Dr. Wong to answer this question.
Yes. Regarding smuggling, the Center for Food Safety has been working very closely with Hong Kong Customs, and we will also continue to mount a joint operation on smuggling.
後邊嗰排而家舉緊手嗰個係。
South China Morning Post. How much the government is expected to spend on this expanded testing system, and how much has been spent since mid-April? And how does the government's precautionary measure work if a loophole exists where the products can be brought by individuals and resold in a personal level? And how do the authorities combat such behavior? I understand you've just mentioned the food safety law is in place, but how to enforce? Thank you.
I'll invite Mr. Lee, the Deputy Secretary, to answer the question on expenditure. And then the enforcement issues will be dealt with by Dr. Wong.
On the amounts of expenditure on enhancing the testing equipment and the testing of Japanese imported food products, in the past 2 years, the total expenditure is about 10 million. So this includes the expenditure by the Center for Food Safety, the government laboratory, and the AFCD in purchasing the required equipment, deploying additional manpower, as well as the testing material consumables.
Right. For enforcement, Dr. Wong.
So the question is how to enforce the food safety order.
If an individual bringing in the banned products and resold in a personal level, how will the authorities enforce the law?
So we have been enforcing the food safety order for many years. So just for your information, we have prosecuted 13 cases. We have prosecuted 13 cases on violation of food safety order. Regarding the enforcement on personal level, that means if there's members of public bringing in aquatic product from the 10 affected prefecture and metropolitan, and we will actually work together with Hong Kong Customs to investigate such case. If there's sufficient evidence proving that the import of the aquatic product is for commercial use. So we will collect the evidence and pursue for prosecution if there's adequate evidence.
The lady over there. Good afternoon, I'm from Cable TV. 2 questions. First, Permanent Secretary mentioned just now that the government rely on third-party data from experts. What kind of data are you referring to? Also, the Japanese government said the radiological level is up to standard. So what kind of standard would the Hong Kong government adhere to? The Macau government said that the imported aquatic products from the 10 metropolis and prefectures from January to July accounts for less than 0.1% of the total imports. How about the situation in Hong Kong? Under what circumstances will you relax the ban? For instance, if the mainland authorities relax the ban, will you follow suit? Thank you.
Well, I said earlier that we'll have to look at the discharge system in Japan. We'll see how they collect data, and we'll look at the test results, and we'll also look at the number of samples to collect. Now, in Hong Kong, we've talked to experts too. It's a matter of how we can make sure the data are convincing. If the data come only from Japan, perhaps they cannot convince other economies. So one feasible option is for Japan to invite a third party to be involved and also to monitor their work. Now, I'm sure the Japanese government will consider that. That's the first point. Second point. Now, Macau announced that for the level of imported aquatic products from the 10 metropolis and prefectures and what the level is there. But in Hong Kong, the situation is not the same. Already in Hong Kong, there's regulation of some of the products. We have certain data, but perhaps Macau has more comprehensive data. But anyway, coming back to Hong Kong, we have some data about the amount of Japanese imported food accounting for about 2% of all imported food. But it depends on food categories. In some cases, the percentage may be higher. For example, today we're talking about prohibiting aquatic products, and our data shows that it accounts for about 6.75% of all imported aquatic products. And, the most popular Japanese imported food product is eggs. So they account for more than 10% of imported products. So about the percentage of imported Japanese food in relation to all imported food, will there be any change to percentage? Well, it really depends on consumers. We're not banning all aquatic products from Japan. For aquatic products coming outside the 10 metropolis or prefectures, they are allowed into Hong Kong. So some in the industry say that they may have to go to other prefectures to buy food products. So it's all for the market really to make a choice. Now, and some of the products actually are not even covered by the food safety order. I think what is important is that we impose the prohibition on prefectures with a high risk, so their aquatic products are not allowed in Hong Kong. That's the first layer of protection. And the second layer of protection is, as Dr. Wong explained, for aquatic products coming from the prefectures outside the 10 prefectures, for every batch of imported Japanese aquatic products, starting from today, we will be doing radiological testing, regardless of which prefectures they come from. So after the food safety order comes into force and after Japan starts to discharge wastewater, we will continue with this approach. This is to give the public confidence that CFS is, closely monitoring and the situation. So that means for food products, for other food products coming from other parts of Japan, we'll do testing. Then we'll release the data so the public know what exactly we're doing. For aquatic products, starting from tomorrow, of course, wastewater will start to be discharged. And as we've said, starting from tomorrow, we're going to publish the test results for certain products every day. And these products include aquatic products. The AFCD will also be helping out here. Now, the CFS will look at imported Japanese aquatic products, and then the AFCD will monitor local aquatic products, whether we're talking about the local catch or mariculture cultural zones. And then the observatory will also be doing radiological testing on seawater. So we want to give the public more information at the individual level as to what food products people will go for. Well, it's a choice for them. On the second row, the lady in gray. Yes.
And then the first question is, since the catering trade earlier said that a large proportion of Japanese imported food would fly Tokyo before coming to Hong Kong, so how would the authorities determine how to ban or not to ban the food if they're coming to Hong Kong from that 10 banned prefectures, or if they will, if you will look at the product's origins or simply their sources? The second question is, will the authorities will consider imposing an upper limit to tourists bringing in the food from the 10 banned prefectures to prevent them bringing excessive amount for smuggling purposes or for reselling in the market again. Thank you.
Dr. Wong? On the import of aquatic products from, say, Tokyo.
Thank you. So if the aquatic product is imported from Tokyo, but it's not manufactured, harvested, processed, or packed in Tokyo, it's just a transshipment cargo. So that would not be affected under the food safety order.
And then the personal, whether there will be a personal level of import, right, into Hong Kong.
Yeah, for those cases, we have been working closely with the customs. Yeah, if they find some suspected cases, they will refer the case to us, and we will further investigate the case to see if there's any evidence that is not imported for personal uses. That means if it's for commercial uses, we will prosecute.
第三行各位。
On the third row, the gentleman in green. I'm from Oriental Daily. this morning, the secretary said that people could still bring gifts from back from Japan, but then Macau is banning all products from Japan. They will actually check people's personal belongings, and in other words, if people go to Macau, they can't even bring any products as gifts. So, are we doing less than Macau in this respect? And what about other agricultural products? Will you also ban other products? Because on the mainland, they are spanning far more categories of products. So in the future, will you also be banning fruits, vegetables, and other agricultural products? Now, on the food safety order and its scope, I'll see if the director has anything else to add. Now, here we are talking about the discharge plan of Japan for the nuclear waste water. So we are therefore targeting aquatic products, sea salt and seaweeds. So if the focus is on the discharge of nuclear wastewater, then we believe targeting only aquatic products is appropriate. As for importation of food, well, a number of journalists asked about that. Say individuals bring food products into Hong Kong. Just now we mentioned there's a distinction between personal consumption or commercial use. So perhaps the director could explain further on that. Well, for the food safety ordinance, it actually targets only food importers and distributors. So we want to regulate import and supply. And for food safety orders, they're issued under the food safety ordinance. So again, those are the principles we go by. So when the government considers the whole issue, we need to strike a balance. We have to consider individual behavior, and at the same time, we'll see whether there's any impact on food safety and public health. Our consideration is, of course, about public health and food safety. Let's say if someone imports food for consumption by others, well, then that's a serious responsibility. So that's why we target commercial behavior in making the order.
May I add one point? The director made it clear that for products brought by individuals, if they fall under the definition of supply under the food safety order, that is, if you receive money by distributing the imported food products, then it is in violation of the order. The gentleman in face mask. I'm from One Way Poll. You mentioned that you've talked to the catering trade. What kind of difficulties are they facing? There are media reports that there is a business plunge in the catering industry. What kind of assistance will the government offer to the trade? Director, I was there in the briefing session this morning. I was there with the controller to give the briefing session. Well, we held this briefing session because we wanted to explain to the trade clearly about the details of the food safety order issued today, and we want to tell them the execution of the order. So we focused on the details of the order, and we didn't talk about their businesses today. And the briefing session went smoothly. This morning, we understand that the trade will be facing various issues, so we've set up a hotline for the trade for products that come through air or sea. The trade may make inquiries through the hotline. The two hotline numbers is 2522-1004 and 2116-6850. for imported fruit coming through the sea, the trade may call the number 25221004. As for questions about imported food by air, the trade may call 21168250. If necessary, we may hold more of such briefing sessions in the future so that the trade can have a better understanding of how we execute the order to ensure that the import will go smoothly. The two phone numbers have been issued to the trade, is that right? Yes.
So nuclear power plants around the world routinely discharge tritium, chun, into the sea as part of their wastewater management. For example, the Yanjiang plant and the Jinshan plant in China both discharge over 100 terabecquerel of tritium in a year. For Fukushima, the IAEA said the limit of tritium to be discharged will be 22 terabecquerel per year. By selectively banning imports from Japan, is Hong Kong adopting a double standard? My second question is for the HKO. The HKO said that it does environmental radiation monitoring. So can HKO tell us whether after the 2011 Fukushima disaster, did it register any increased radiation in Hong Kong's waters? And does HKO expect that this time for the discharge of water 3,000 kilometers away would actually increase radiation in Hong Kong waters in any significant way? Thank you.
I'll invite Mr. Lee to deal with the last question, and then Mr. SK Lee to deal with the first question on tritium.
As I just mentioned, the HKO has been monitoring the radiation level of the seawater for quite a long time. And since the Fukushima incident in 2011, we did not notice any increase in the radiation level in Hong Kong waters. And for the discharge of nuclear contaminated water this time, since the distance from Japan to Hong Kong is more than 3,000 kilometers, so we expect that the effect will be very minimal, but still to ensure and to make sure that for the public assurance, we still increase the frequency of our seawater monitoring from once every quarter to once a month. Thank you.
And Mr. SK Lee on tritium. I think the most important thing to note is the tritium discharged as a result of normal operation of nuclear plants. And tritium in nuclear contaminated water discharged at Fukushima, they're not the same. Mr. SK Lee, please.
Thank you, Permanent Secretary. Thank you. Yes, the situation cannot be compared on the same basis. On the first scenario you mentioned, this is for the routine discharge. Routine discharge means the nuclear power plant remain intact, and the water will not come into contact with the nuclear fuels in the reactor core. But in Fukushima, the situation is completely different. The reactor core of all the three units, unit 1 to 3, is completely melted. So the water, the nuclear contaminated waters has come into contact with the highly radioactive materials inside the melted reactor cores. And they contain, in addition to tritium, there's many different kinds of radioactive substances, which could be of very high radiation levels. So they need to be treated by very sophisticated systems in order to reduce the levels. So the two situations cannot be compared. They are totally different scenarios. Thank you.
好，仲有冇其他問題？
Are there any other questions? The lady over there, please. On the second row. Yes. I'm from Now TV. Now you say you step up testing, but how much will you increase the frequency? And to step up testing, how much more manpower and spending do you need? And just now, the Permanent Secretary said that bringing food products as gift is not against law, but if it's commercial use and it's against the law, but then how do you then tell whether it's for commercial use or not? And if it's for commercial use, how do you actually trace such activities? On the stepping up of testing frequency, perhaps my colleague will explain, say how many tests we do a year now and how many we plan to do in future. Thank you for your questions. First, about bringing in food products as gifts or souvenirs. Now, if you bring a box or two for your own consumption, or say you buy some food products at the airport, now they are not subject to the food safety order. But if you bring a large quantity, because you are buying agent, so you're buying it on behalf of others, or you are reselling the items, then that's commercial behavior and is subject to the food safety ordinance. So we work closely with the customs to deal with such cases. As for detailed follow-up, I'm not at liberty to disclose that. That's because here we're talking about following up on individual cases. And your second question, manpower level. We have actually bought more testing equipment. We've also enhanced our testing facilities and equipment. So the CFS has spent about $2 million to buy the additional equipment. As for the frequency of radiological tests each year, we've also increased that. Well, yes, I mentioned that earlier, actually. Starting from the 12th of June to now, our center has tested about 10,000 samples of imported Japanese food product. So we're talking about from June to now. And we stepped up to testing. And last year, the full year, we tested 10,000 samples. So you can see that we have stepped up testing by a large measure. On the second row, the lady there. Can you speak up, please?
Yeah, I'm from Bloomberg. I wanted to ask, why are some of the landlocked prefectures among the 10 that are being banned? And do you know what is the value of the imports being affected from the prefectures? Meaning, how much money, how much total what is the figure amount for the amount Hong Kong imports from these 10 prefectures? And then also, do you know if Japanese seafood imports to Hong Kong go directly to Hong Kong, or do they also pass through other parts of China first? Thank you.
On the inland prefectures, why we cover them, I'll invite Mr. Lee to explain.
When we consider the scope of import control, the basic principle is to take a precautionary and prudent approach to ensure food safety. Because we have considered that, as mentioned by our colleagues just now, the fundamental question is that the nuclear contaminated water that is to be discharged originated from the nuclear accident during 2011. So it had a direct contact with the active fuel, and it contained large amounts of different types of radionuclides. So this is fundamentally different from the normal discharge by ordinary nuclear plants. And we have also looked at the information provided by the Japanese authorities as well as the IAEA. We cannot convince ourselves that we can guarantee after the commencement of discharge, the aquatic products imported from the relevant prefectures can continue to be 100% safe in the long term. And in particular, in the absence of independent monitoring mechanism, it remains uncertain whether the ALPS filtration treatment system can operate effectively and efficiently in the long run. For example, in the past, we looked instances or reports of some fishes or water samples still in excess of the Japanese regulatory standard from time to time. For example, just in May this year, a fish was caught near the Fukushima nuclear plant, which was found to have exceeded the Japanese safety standard by 180 times. So when we devised the import control measures to ensure food safety in Hong Kong, we have to take all these special circumstances, exceptional factors into consideration. So we have been taking a very prudent and very strict manner, so to speak. Yeah.
Sorry, for your second question, if I get it right. So actually, you are referring to situations whereby aquatic products originating from the 10 metropolis or prefectures, but they went through other jurisdictions before arriving at Hong Kong. Are you referring to the situation as such?
Thank you for your question. I wanted to clarify if all of those imported products from Japan, do they directly come to Hong Kong, or do some of them first find their way in other ports first?
If I may reframe your question, is whether the food safety order will cover aquatic products originating from the targeted prefectures, but they do not come to Hong Kong direct, but route through other places.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yes.
Right. So
Yes, it covers.
yeah.
The simple answer is yes.
Yes. Yes, they will be covered. Simply because they are originating from the targeted prefectures. Whether they arrive Hong Kong direct or go through other places, that will not affect the very fact that they are originated from the affected prefectures.
好，下一條問題。
Next question, please.
Key question on the dollar amount for imports from those 10 prefectures. Do you have that dollar amount on you, or know where I could get that information?
I don't think we have it for the time being.
Okay, do you think you'll be able to have it in the future?
No, because we haven't been able to keep, statistics down to that level.
Okay.
But perhaps we may start, collecting the information.
Great, I hope you can send it to me first.
好，後邊嗰位。
The gentleman at the back. AM1730. Well, the 10 metropolis and prefectures, if we're talking about aquatic products originating from them, and then they're processed in other parts of Japan and then shipped to Hong Kong, would that be allowed? And for aquatic products banned coming from from the 10 prefectures, are we talking about the original products, or what if they've been processed? And for Japanese food imported to Hong Kong, do you have further breakdown of food coming from the 10 metropolis or prefectures? If the catering sector is to be affected, will you offer any compensation or assistance? And then if local fisheries trade are worried about radiation, but then Hong Kong is quite some distance from Japan. So for the local fisheries trade and mariculture trade, how much will they be affected by the discharge plan?
I'll invite Mr. Patrick Lai from the AFCD to respond to your questions. All along, Mr. Lai has been talking to the local fishermen. Mr. Lai, please. Well, fishery groups are quite worried about the discharge plan. They're worried that members of the public would lose confidence in the local fishery products, which may affect their living. So what the government can do is that we can step up testing, and we will release information to dispel the public's misconceptions or concerns so that the public can consume imported or local aquatic products with confidence. As mentioned, there is certain distance between Hong Kong and where the nuclear water is discharged. I believe that there is a minimal chance that will have high radiation level detected in the Hong Kong waters. Well, no matter what kind of worries it is, we will step up testing to dispel members of the public's misconception. On the question about the definition of aquatic products, I'll invite Dr. Wong and Director to elaborate. As mentioned, under the Food Safety Order, for we are banning aquatic products that are manufactured, processed, or packaged in these 10 metropolis or prefectures. So for food originating from these metropolis or prefectures under this definition are all banned under the order. As for other types of products such as frozen, live or refrigerated aquatic products, what kind of examples we can give? I'll ask Dr. Wong to tell you more. Well, thank you for the question. In relation to the definition of aquatic products covered by the Food Safety Order, it includes aquatic products that are dried overnight or preserved in other ways. There are a kind of fish products that are dried overnight or preserved. It's a whole fish or dried fish. They also fall under the definition of dried aquatic products. However, if it is a fish egg or a fish ball, it may be coated with a lot of flour, and it does not fall under the banned aquatic food products under the safety order. Well, the journalist mentioned whether there will be assistance offered to the catering trade. I think what is most important is, as members of the trade said, they're worried about public confidence. That's why we stress that our measures target imported food products from Japan, and we want to ensure multiple layer of protection, and we want to ban any food at high risks. And they will not be sold in the local market. We will step up testing on aquatic products from other Japanese prefectures. For each batch of aquatic products imported, we will conduct radiological tests. So the aquatic products available in the local market should be safe for consumption. We will release information about food safety, and we will every day release test results on our website. If we find any abnormal results, we will notify the public immediately. I'm confident with our gatekeeping capacity. I hope that the government will have confidence in the aquatic products available locally as well. Well, members of the trade mentioned whether we can do more in terms of the labeling for food imported from the 10 metropolis or prefectures. If the trade wants to do this, we think that it is good for the consumers. For Center for Food Safety, we conduct tests on each batch of imported aquatic products, and after the test, we issue a letter to the owner of the batch of imported food products, notifying the owner that the imported food meets the safety standard. Perhaps Dr. Wong can tell us about what the letter looks like. And this serves as a proof for the trade that the imported food products have already gone through testing by the Center for Food Safety and that the food products have passed the relevant tests. Dr. Wong, please. We've heard the views of members of the trade. After testing, we issue a letter. The letter covers the following information, including the number of the bill of lading and the date when the food is imported to Hong Kong. Say if there are 3 batches of imported food products and they have already gone through testing, we'll include in the letter that the food products concerned have already gone through customs clearance and that the food products concerned have passed the relevant test. And we issue a letter like this to the trade. We hope that these measures are able to offer help to the trade. The measures I mentioned, I think, are the most helpful for the trade in light of the current circumstances. We'll take 2 more questions. I'm from Hong Kong 01. If an imported food product is not up to safety standard, apart from disposing of the food products, what will you do? Are you going to further impose restrictions? The Hong Kong Observatory mentioned that the discharge plan will not have much impact on the radiological level on Hong Kong waters. Can you tell us more why you think that the impacts will not be significant? On the question about food products falling under food safety standard, I'll ask Dr. Wong to tell us more. If it is found that certain imported food products falls under food safety standard, well, currently, we detain a batch of imported food product if the test results are not satisfactory. That means the food products concerned cannot be sold on the local market. So any food products that fall below safety standard, they won't affect members of the public because they cannot be sold on the local market. So we hope that the trade can work with us in terms of gatekeeping. In cases of exceedance, we will conduct an assessment. We do testing at the import level because we can trace the place of origins of the food products concerned. In cases like this, we talk to the relevant Japanese authorities. There is a chance that we may consider step-up regulation, say import regulation or import control, or a complete ban on the food products concerned. Last question. Sorry, Mr. Lee, please. Well, Hong Kong will not be significantly affected by the discharge plan. You may say that Hong Kong may be affected by the water current. However, water currents are subject to different factors. However, there is a distance of over 3,000 kilometers between Hong Kong and Japan, so after the nuclear wastewater is discharged, they will be significantly diluted. Still, we will step up monitoring of radiation levels in Hong Kong waters. We'll take the last question.
Reporter. So 3 questions. The first one is quite similar to what Chinese report another colleague has said. Can you give more clear guidelines or definition on the definition of the manufacturing or the place of origin? For example, if a certain product has been processed in the 10 regions, would it be banned while entering Hong Kong? And the second question is whether the government will consider, if under any conditions, to end the product ban. Is there any condition that the government can list out? And the third one is is in regards to the AFP question. Can the government explain or to confirm whether the water from Guangdong nuclear plant with the tritium are safe for the Hong Kong citizens? Thank you.
I'll invite Christy, Dr. Wong, to deal with the question on the definition of manufacturing or place of origin, prefecture of origin, whatsoever.
Yes, thank you. So the definition of originating is it includes manufacturing, processing, packed, and harvesting. Yeah. So if some aquatic products are harvested in one of the 10 prefectures and manufactured in other places, that those products are included under the food safety order.
Before I take your second question, for the third question, I'd like you to clarify what actually do you mean by water from Guangdong?
Because the AFP reporter has just said that the water coming out from the Guangdong nuclear plants, they also contain tritium. And I think one official has just said there are 2 different kind of waters, nuclear waters. Can you explain if there's any differences, or is safe? How safe is it for the Hong Kong people? And I think the second one is relating if any condition to end the import ban.
So for water, you mean seawater, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the sort of clarification that I'm after.
Thank you.
Mr. Lee, could you deal with the question on the radiation level of seawater that you are doing, checking,
I
testing?
think as the colleague from Department of Health just mentioned, the water released from the Guangdong nuclear station by nature is quite different from what will be discharged from Fukushima. So I think we've already addressed this issue.
And on the question as to when we are going to end the ban, I think I've already dealt with that a number of times on this occasion. But I think the short answer is we'll keep everything under review. I've been citing a number of examples, but these, of course, would not be exhaustive. There could be other considerations. The situation may change over time. But if you ask me, some very basic parameters that we will always bear in mind and take into account would be the situation in Japan. By that, I mean, what about the operation of the discharge system? Is it operating as planned? What about the water samples or aquatic product samples taken near Fukushima? Do we have data, statistics, whatever? On these fronts, I think we will continue to have communication with the Japanese side. And other than that, on our side, I've been saying that CFS has been, collecting food samples, aquatic food samples. We have our own set of database, so we'll make reference to our database as well. And to give you a short answer is we'll take everything into account. And in what we do, I would like to emphasize that in what we do, our major objective is to safeguard food safety and public health in Hong Kong. That is our primary consideration and actually the responsibility on the part of government. And that's why today, so many of our colleagues are sitting here. We are doing our part to safeguard food safety and public health. Thank you.
咁記者會完畢啦，唔該晒大家。
It's the end of the press conference. Thank you very much.
Uh, 簡單去講咧，其實好多嘅費用咧會由部門自己調配啊。咁所以其實你問我話牽涉到幾多額外嘅支出咧咁樣，咁今天因為好多工作咧，譬如話食安方面，佢哋做一啲檢測工作，頭先黃醫生都有講，我哋加強咗，定我不嬲都做開嘅，咁佢哋可能係即係調撥部門嘅資源啦，人手亦都係如是。咁所以其實我今天我就好難講到俾你聽實際上係
Now, if you ask how many $1 million we've spent, well, actually, since you're interested in that, perhaps we will try to keep the data and then we will let you know later. Okay, thank you.